How to sign clients with cold email in 2025. If you run a business like an agency or a B2B service business and you need more clients, cold email can be a powerhouse channel to get more meetings and deals in the door, but only when it's done correctly. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through the entire process of signing new clients through cold email step by step. We're going to cover setting up the cold email system and infrastructure, finding prospects, writing your scripts, and then turning those conversations or those positive responses into meetings booked and then into signed clients. So by the end of this video, I guarantee that you will see why cold email is essential for client acquisition in the B2B space. So for some context, if you don't know who I am, my name is Alex. I'm the founder of Sparkly, the B2B lead generation agency. I've worked with over 50 companies in the B2B space across over 20 industries to help them generate more qualified sales appointments via cold email. Now, so far, we've generated over 1.2 million in closed revenue and 4.5 million in sales pipeline for our clients. And essentially, I've built hundreds of campaigns from scratch, both for myself and for my clients over the past few years. And today, I'm going to walk you through my entire process so you can copy it for your company. Now, just for some more context, so you can see how powerful cold email is, this is one of our most recent case studies where we helped a client add $150,000 in new revenue within 30 days just through cold email. Okay, so this is just some more proof that cold email works. So without further ado, let's dive in. The first step is setting up your cold email infrastructure. So before you send a single email, you need the right infrastructure in place so that your emails actually get delivered into your prospect's primary inbox and also look professional. So this includes your sending domains, your email accounts, and then also the technical settings. So the first thing you need to do is you need to get a dedicated domain or multiple dedicated domains for cold email only. You don't want to be sending cold emails from your primary business domain. You don't want to risk its reputation or risk having it blacklisted. So instead, what you want to do is you want to buy one or more similar domains. So for example, if your main site or your main domain is brightmarketing.com, you might register brightmarketingpro.com or try brightmarketing.com. So what we're doing here is we're adding a prefix or a suffix at the end or at the beginning of the domain just to make a similar domain to the primary business domain. Now, domains are cheap and you can buy them from GoDaddy for around $10, $15 each. And then you can use essentially a domain that looks legit, is related to your business, and always a .com domain. This way, if an email provider does start flagging your outreach domain for any reason, your main domain is going to remain unaffected. Now, I'd recommend going to GoDaddy right now. As you're watching this video, just pause the video, go into GoDaddy and purchase 15 .com domains that look exactly like your primary business domain. Now, once you do that, you want to set up professional email accounts. So on each domain that you purchase, you can set up 2 email accounts. And ideally, you want to use a standard email provider like Google Workspace or Microsoft 365 for these. You can either go directly through Google and Microsoft, or you can go through resellers, which are usually cheaper. But essentially, any Google or Microsoft inbox is going to have a good sender reputation. So for instance, the email accounts that you might set up, if your domain is trybrightmarketing.com, the email account might be John at the domain or Kate at the domain. You can choose the 2 names for the email accounts. Just use real names if possible, because an email coming from John or Kate or Alex feels more personal than info or sales. So you can usually just add these addresses in Google Workspace for around $6 a month, or through Outlook for around $6 a month. Or if you go through a reseller, you can do it for around $3 to $4 a month. So the next step, once you buy your email accounts, once you set them up, you need to warm them up. And this step is extremely critical. New domains and addresses are like cold engines. So if you just send 500 cold emails on day 1 from one inbox, then the providers will almost certainly flag you as spam. So you need to warm up the email accounts over a few weeks, ideally 14 days. So the best way to do this is to use an email warm-up tool like SmartLead. This is also going to be your email sending tool, which is going to be where you're going to be launching your campaigns. And essentially, this acts like an outreach platform, and it also includes warm-up settings and features. And it's the best one, in my opinion. This is what we've been using for multiple clients. So the idea here is that the tool is going to send a bunch of normal emails from your newly built email accounts to other recipients, and it's going to engage with them as well. Some of them are going to be replied to, marked as important, etc., etc. And this is going to train Gmail and Outlook that these email addresses are real and they have normal interaction patterns. So essentially, over 2 to 3 weeks, maybe 4 weeks, you can gradually increase the sending volume. And then after a good warm up, your account can handle larger sends with less risk of landing in spam. So very important here, do not skip the warm up process. It's one of those things that you need to go slow and then go fast. So in the meantime, you can work on building your prospect list and email copy. Okay, so just to give you a bit of a recap here, you're going to purchase your domains, you're going to set up your email accounts. If you're going to set them up directly through Microsoft and Google, it means that you need to configure all the warm-up settings and all the DNS settings, and it gets a bit more technical. But if you go directly through a reseller like Premium Inboxes for Google or Inboxlogy or Scaled Mail for Outlook, then they handle everything for you. It's cheaper. And then they also upload those accounts for you into SmartLead and start the warm-up process for you. So I recommend that you go with the reseller instead. And then, as I said, the warm-up process is going to take around 14 days. And then throughout those 14 days, what you need to do is go ahead and write the scripts and build the lead lists, which is what we're going to get into in a second. So one final thing before we get into targeting is that you need to plan your sending volume. So each warmed up email inbox, so essentially once they're warmed up, can send around 10 cold emails a day to start with, and then you can scale it to around 20 over time. So if you have around 30 inboxes because you purchased 15 domains, you could be sending around 600 emails a day once fully warmed up. Now, this might sound low if you want to be sending thousands or tens of thousands, but remember, just when you're starting off, that it's quality over quantity. It's not always a volume game. But essentially, if you do want to send more volume, all you need to do is just buy new domains, set up more email accounts, horizontal scaling. That's basically what it's called, because you don't want to be increasing the number of emails that you're sending per account. What you want to do is you want to go and buy more domains, set up more email accounts, and then that way you can just send more volume. So as that's happening now, as your email accounts are warming up, you need to find and vet your prospects. So you need people to email, basically. And ideally, people who are likely to need your service or be interested in your service. So the first thing you need to do here, before you go ahead and build a lead list of prospects, is that you need to define your ideal client profile. Because if you don't know who your ideal client profile is, in other words, your ICP, then you can't build a list of those people because you don't know who those people are. So you need to be clear on who you're targeting. What is the industry? What is the niche? What job title? What is the company size? Where are they located? So for example, if you offer HR consulting for tech startups, your ICP might be tech companies from Series A to C with 50 to 200 employees targeting the head of people or CEO, for example. This clarity is going to guide your list building. So if I could give you a bit of homework to do with your ICP, just figure out what is the industry, where are they located, how many employees do they have, who are the relevant decision makers within those companies that you want to be reaching out to? And then if you want to get even more specific, what are certain keywords that they might have on their website? So for example, if the industry is marketing, but you want to go after Google Ads companies, which is within the umbrella term of marketing, you need to know the keywords that those Google Ads agencies would have on their website. So the next thing is the lead sources and tools. So Apollo.io is a really good database where you can apply all these filters, and it's going to give you a list of companies with contacts and emails. Listkit.io is also a really good source. If you want to go for funded startups, then you can use Crunchbase, or even just go directly through LinkedIn Sales Navigator. And then once you do that, you need to collect the data. So essentially, you need to export the data from these platforms. And the most important pieces of information that you need is the first name, last name, email, company, website, and job title. Now, some other additional fields that could help for personalization is the industry or any other metric would be helpful as well. And then if you're using Apollo, you can just export the CSV directly with these fields. Now, once you export it from Apollo, Listkit, or any other database, you then need to verify the emails. So you need to take that whole CSV file and then run it through an email verifier like Million Verifier or Never Bounce. I would recommend going for Million Verifier. That's the verification tool that I have the most experience with, and that I can confidently say it's really good. And this is going to flag all the bad emails before you send. So you want to remove any that come back as invalid. And you also want to consider removing the accept all emails or the catch-all emails if you want to be extra safe. And the result is going to be a clean list that should have a very low bounce rate, ideally under 3%, meaning that these email accounts are going to exist and they're not going to be bouncing, meaning that they don't exist, so the emails are not going to get delivered. So this step is going to save you from a lot of trouble down the line. So then you need to double check relevance. So just a quick sanity check here. Just scan through the spreadsheet and check if there are any companies or job titles that look a bit off. So if any company looks like they're from a wrong industry or they're smaller than what you ideally wanted to target, then you can just remove those companies from the list. And remember that a well-targeted list of 200 contacts is better than 1,000 random ones. And then finally, you can also segment if needed. So you might decide to segment your list into a few groups if they need slightly different email approaches. So, for example, if you're targeting real estate companies and fintech companies, just because your service could help both of these industries, you might write a slightly different opening or offer for each of these industries. So, what you can do here is you can group your list accordingly so you can also tailor your scripts as well. But if your target is focused, then you can just use one email template for every single one of your industries. Or if you're using Clay, then you can just add some personalization and you can just launch one big campaign. So the next step, once you build your lead list, is to craft your cold email copy. In other words, your messaging. So now you have your sending set up and a list of verified prospects. And now you need to know what you're going to say in the cold email to turn those contacts into potential clients and then into paying clients. So the first step is writing a good subject line. So essentially for the subject line, you want to keep it short, casual, and just generate some curiosity. You might include the prospect's first name or the company name if possible. Usually personalized subject lines, they can boost the open rate. So for example, quick question, first name, idea for company name. Avoid using too many spammy words or too much salesness. The subject line's only job is to get the prospect to open the email. So the aim here is not to sell the service through the subject line. So you don't need to include some crazy offers in the subject line itself. The only thing you need to do is make it look like an internal email, something that the prospect would receive from a colleague maybe or a friend, to just get them to open the email. So don't oversell, basically. Then you need a personalized opener. So, for example, hi name, and then a sentence that shows that this email isn't copy paste sent to 1,000 people, even though it is using Smart Lead. And then if you're using Clay, this can help you with this step. So, for instance, hi, Sarah. I noticed you recently expanded your company to Europe. Congrats on the growth. Or, hey, John, read your last LinkedIn post about remote work. Pretty interesting insights. So, this opening line should be just warm, relevant about the prospect. And it should basically just say, hey, I've done my homework on you. And then it should also naturally lead into the reason why you're reaching out. Now, just a bit of a misconception here, which I need to clarify, is it doesn't mean that the more personalization you have, the higher the chances of getting a response. You don't need to get creepy personal. You don't need to start calling out, where they live or the name of their dog or other pet. All you need to have is just a relevant personal opener, and then that's about it. That's going to do the job. Now, the next step is to introduce the value or the offer. So, in the next 1 to 2 sentences, you just want to explain what you do for clients like them and specifically what outcome you can deliver. So, this is where you present your offer. And for example, you could say, we help SaaS companies generate 20 to 30 extra sales calls a month through targeted cold email campaigns. And notice that we're mentioning one quantifiable end result, a time frame, and then you could also have a mini guarantee. Meaning that if we don't generate 20 to 30 extra sales calls a month, you don't pay, or you get a full refund, or we keep working for free until we hit those results. And you can adjust the tone and the language and the offer based on who you're reaching out to, but just make sure that you tie it to some sort of quantifiable end result. It could be making more money, saving time, etc., etc. These are the things that people care about and the things that people would pay someone to help them with. So then a bit of credibility as well. If you have any case studies or if you've worked with some big clients, then just drop that in the script as well. It's going to help you massively. So for example, recently we did this for a similar company and added 500K in annual sales for them in 3 months. Or our team previously worked with Google on optimizing their outreach. So a little social proof is going to take you a long way in cold email. If you don't have any big wins or case studies, then you can just skip this. But when you do have case studies, then just throw them in. But a good CTA then, so after you mention the social proof, just end with a simple, low friction call to action. So for example, if you're open to it, I'd love to set up a quick 15-minute chat to see how this could work for your company, or something even more simple than that. So are you free later this week for a quick call? Or even just like a really soft CTA, like interested, or can I send you a quick video explaining further? Just make sure it's a question. It's something that's easy to say yes to. And ideally, just make sure there isn't a lot of friction and a lot of resistance. So if your ask is too big, if you're asking for money, if you're asking for a 60-minute demo right off the bat, then the prospect is probably going to say no. So overall, though, for your scripts, just make sure that it's short, it's skimmable, and it's 5 to 6 sentences max. The prospect should be able to read it in 5 to 10 seconds. Don't have any big paragraphs or big blocks of text. Use line breaks. You want it to look like an easy, friendly email, not a proposal or an essay. No slang or too hypey offers and pitches. And also you want to avoid spam triggers. So don't put any links in your emails, and essentially don't even put your company website, so brightmarketing.com. Just if you want to include the website, you can type it as plain text, but make sure that it's not a link. So for it not to be a link, you'll need to leave a space before the dot here, just so that it doesn't actually become a link. And also don't include any pictures, any attachments. Don't use any capital letters saying free, act now, et cetera, because they're just going to get your email sent into the spam folder, basically. So just a quick example here, putting everything together. Subject line, quick question, Sarah. Hi, Sarah. I saw that your company just expanded to Europe. Congrats. I specialize in helping fintech companies book 10 to 15 high value sales meetings each month with cold outreach. In fact, we recently did this for another startup in your space, and it added 1.2 million in pipeline for them in 6 months. Would you be open to a quick 15-minute chat next week to see if we could do something similar for you? So that's super simple. That's the only thing that your cold email script needs to say, basically. It's just, hey, personalized opener. This is what we can help you do. This is who we've already helped that is similar to your company. Are you interested? That's it. And then what you need to do now is make 3 to 4 variants that look like this one. So you could change the opener. Maybe you could change the CTA. So in one of the variants, you could pitch a call. In the other variant, you could pitch a Loom video. So for example, could I send you a quick 2-minute video explaining how the process works? So basically, you just need to play around and split test. Now, the next step is to launch and manage the campaign. So now you have everything ready, warmed up accounts, a verified lead list, a great email with personalization, and now it's time to send and handle the replies. So you need to use Smart Lead or a similar platform like Instantly, and that's going to allow you to send your emails, automate your follow-ups, rotate your email accounts, track all your metrics, your reply rates, your positive reply rates, your bounce rates. Then what you need to do is you need to set up your campaign with your script template. You need to import the lead list as well once it's been verified. And then also just make sure that you stagger the sending times so they go out in batches and not all at once. So if you're sending 15 emails a day, you don't want to send 15 emails in the same minute. You want to send one email every 20 minutes until you send 15 emails a day, basically. But these tools like Smartly and Instantly, they do this for you automatically. So the next step is to monitor replies and respond promptly. So once you launch your campaigns and you start generating positive responses, you need to be ready to answer to the leads who reply. So if someone says, yes, I'm interested, or they ask a question asking for more information, you need to try to respond within a couple of hours, maybe even within a few minutes if possible. And speed can make the difference in turning that positive response into a meeting booked. So have your calendar ready so you can confirm the time quickly. So if someone says, yes, I'm interested, you can say, sure, how about Thursday at 3 p.m.? So how to handle interested versus not interested responses. So just to set the right expectations here, not everyone is going to respond positively. Most people are going to say they're not interested or no thanks. But if someone says, actually, we already have a solution or we do this in-house, you could reply with a gentle offer, something very subtle like, no worries. If that ever changes, happy to share some more information about what we do. Just keep the door open, but don't push after a firm no. So if someone says like most definitely no, then you don't need to say anything. And then for positive replies, you need to nurture the prospects and then just keep moving them towards a call. So when a prospect agrees to have a chat with you, lock down the details, either send your calendar link to them or propose a specific time and get confirmation. Once confirmed, just send the calendar link immediately, make it easy for them. Just use Zoom or Google Meet to host your meetings, and then you will send them an invite through Calendly for the scheduled time. Now, number 5 is from meetings to signed clients. So the final step is turning those calls or those meetings into actual paying clients. Now, to do that, you need to come prepared to the call. So you have to research the prospect before the meeting, have an idea of their possible pain points, and you likely do from your campaign already. But the first call is typically going to be a discovery call. Focus on them, ask all the questions about their needs, confirm the pain point that you suspected, try to understand if they're doing anything similar that's related to your service, explain how you can help, tailoring your solution to their context. It's very important that you also show some relevant examples, results, case studies, and the goal is to make the prospect feel that this person here, this company, could solve the problem that I have and that it's worth the investment. It's important to mention that you might close the deal on the first call, especially if it's a small commitment, but sometimes you might need to propose a second call, a demo call. But either way, just have your pricing and your packages ready to discuss. And just keep in mind that if your cold email got them to this point, then all you need to do is reiterate the key points of your offer when closing the deal, the quantifiable outcome, the time frame, so they can just mentally connect it to what excited them initially, what basically got them on the call in the first place. Now, You also need to follow up with prospects who ignored you eventually, the ones who went quiet. So the people who showed interest initially and responded positively might need a bit of extra nudging to get them on the call. So someone might say, hey, I'm interested, and then you propose a call, and then they ghost you. So you need to keep following up every 3-4 days to make sure that you actually get them on the call eventually. So that's essentially what you need to know for inbox management, getting people on a call and how to close the call. Now, a couple of key principles throughout this journey is consistency and persistence. So cold email is like a flywheel. It might take a bit of time to get it going, but once it's ready, you will have a steady stream of leads. So don't get discouraged by the inevitable non-responses, rejections, not interested, etc., etc. The next thing and the most important thing is to measure, to optimize, to track your metrics, whatever you want to call it. Track everything, your reply rates, your meeting booked rates. If something is low, for example, your positive response rate is under 5%, you need to tweak the scripts or the offer or the lead list, the audience. If the reply rate is low, maybe your infrastructure needs rebuilding. It's a continuous improvement game. And the more cold email campaigns you launch, the better you're going to become at monitoring everything and knowing what to adjust, knowing what to optimize, so you can start seeing better and better results. Now, finally, you need to scale what works. So once you sign a couple of clients through cold email, you have more case studies. You can then plug those into future cold emails, and you can start generating even stronger campaigns. And you can also consider increasing the volume. So once you see that you're launching a campaign, it's generating a positive return on investment, that's going to give you the green light to go and buy more domains, go set up more email accounts, and then essentially just start signing more clients, generating more responses, and then maybe also start to expand and target additional segments as well. So the bottom line here is that many agencies and businesses have literally been built purely on cold email for client acquisition. It's very powerful and cost effective. It's not like ads, paid ads. It doesn't require big budgets, just a bit of effort and strategy. It's also very direct, so you will land straight in the decision maker's inbox. So when you nail your targeting, you know who your ICP is, you know what the offer is, what the value proposition is. It's an incredibly effective way to start generating more sales appointments and start signing more clients. So for example, a single good campaign can yield multiple clients and a huge ROI, just like the client that I showed you right at the beginning of this video, who generated 150,000 in just 30 days. So to sign clients with cold email, what you need to do is you need to get your technical setup right so your emails start hitting people's primary inboxes. You need to build a high quality lead list of prospects who truly need your offer or potentially might need your offer depending on how well you phrase it. You need to send them a compelling personal message highlighting an outcome that they care about or pressing on a pain point that they're currently experiencing. You need to follow up, get them on a call, and then actually deliver the results that you promised. So once you do this, you'll find cold email to be a predictable and scalable engine for growing your business. It might take a bit of tweaking early on, but you need to stick with it. Just like with anything else, it takes time to see what scripts resonate, what audience is more appealed to your offer, and what audience essentially resonates the most with the solution that you can deliver. And just take your time with it. Test, optimize, split test. The results are going to come. So that's that for this video. You should now know how to start signing clients with cold email. You know how to set up the infrastructure, how to build the lists, and how to write the scripts, but also how to manage the inbox once you start getting positive responses. Now, it goes without saying that in order to run successful cold email campaigns, there's a lot of details that I couldn't include in this video purely because it would have to be too long. So if you don't want to go through all the hassle of learning the tech, building the systems, writing the scripts, optimizing and split testing, and you just want us to come into your company, build the entire system for you and start generating qualified sales appointments for you, then just click on the first link in the description. And also, if you run a cold email agency or a B2B company and you don't want us to build the system for you, but you want me to personally mentor you and show you how to do it in a lot more detail than I could explain in this video, then just click on the second link in the description, fill in the application form, and then if we're a good fit to work together, I'll reach out. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, don't forget to like, subscribe, and if you have any questions, just throw them in the comments below. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.